Hi and welcome to the latest episode of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to be subscribing to said YouTube channel. So we are coming at you for episode number 33 to wrap up the pre-season, to get ready for the regular season. We will discuss the release players as we record this. Bear in mind it's ridiculously early on Wednesday the 28th of August, so by the time you guys see this plenty may have happened, but you know that is the way of shows today. So I am Clazzy Clare and I welcome in my fantastic co-host Chudders. Chudders, how are things with you?
Everything's good with me, thank you. We're now starting to see the team take shape. We can now really start focusing on the start of the regular season. I hope you're excited, Claire.
Yes. Immensely.
It sounds it. There's a lot of enthusiasm. We were discussing before and how positive a fan Claire is, and you can see it's positively beaming through this season already.
Oh, well, you know, my pre-season games don't titillate me very much, and my favourite player is currently injured, so I am not enjoying starting how Hunter Henry is still injured. He's not like on IR injured situation. Already, just a few minutes in and we're going there, are we? Okay, so good to know. Disciplines will happen later. So where do you want to start? Should we start with the pre-season 2-1 situation? Is it really worth discussing?
Yes, because it's
okay. Go on then.
It's the main element of obviously what we've seen in the past few weeks. What I would say on the 2-1 record, it's obviously disappointing you haven't come away with 3 wins, particularly as you've been up in all 3 of those games. It would have been great to have held on to that. I'd also, the past 2 games against the Eagles and the Commanders, you were up going later into the game. You could argue then that the players the Patriots cut yesterday lost to the players that Washington and the Eagles cut yesterday, because usually by the end of these games, everyone's got their 3rd, 4th stringers in. It's it's the starters are at the start of the game. So you could argue that the Patriots were up and for maybe 3/4 of these games, and then they lost them at the end. So maybe the actual result, like you say, 1 and 2, isn't as bad as it may show on paper. That said, I think what we've seen, there's a lot to improve on, particularly on the offense. There is a lot of question marks, particularly on O-line. I'm still not convinced we have exciting weapons, should we say, at receiver. We didn't see phenomenal play from our running back, solid play. But it's not like we're looking at this going, wow, we've got the next JJ McCarthy, we got the next Derrick Henry, we've got anything phenomenal there. Oh, Claire has a point.
I do have a question. I'm going to do an early show pushback that really has got nothing to do with this. But you say the Patriots have got nothing exciting on offense, but not every single team in the NFL can have something exciting on offense. And isn't exciting a matter of opinion? Well, okay.
I tell you what then. If you're a Patriots fan who's excited by what this offense is going to be this year, I would genuinely love to hear your opinions.
No, actually, you're twisting what I say again. But you could argue that Drake May is exciting. The prospect of him is exciting. I personally, when he plays, find Hunter Henry very exciting, but then again, I am biased because it's tight-ended, so what can you say? I'm looking forward to seeing what Austin Hooper can do as well. So we have to table that one because that's Claire's bias. But I mean, to be honest with you, I find a very good offensive line exciting. We don't have one, but I find it exciting. So genuinely, it's a matter of opinion. You are Mr. Glory Hunter. I just want the sparkling number 1 receiver who's a huge diva. That's the
talented. The diva element, I'd rather they're not divas.
Yeah, but they usually are divas. I'm just trying to push back on the negativity in a way. Your expectations are up here, and it just seems so unfair. And not every team has got that. Yeah, the top teams have, because you're talking the top wide receivers, but not every team is sitting there with that type thing. Anyway, I think this could go on for a long time, and we don't have a long time.
Well, my expectations are the Patriots are going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think the disappointment meets expectation is we're obviously a new era, and everyone, in my opinion, needs to tamper their expectations of what's ahead for the next year or maybe 2 years. Because if you think we're going to playoffs, you're going to be disappointed by the end of the year, which is not the point. I'm looking forward to seeing some development. The disappointment I have is 10 months ago or 8 months ago, when we were recording shows, we were saying, gosh, we really need talent at receiver. We need a new quarterback, and our offensive line is awful. From what we've seen over the last 8 months, we have an exciting new prospect at quarterback, and we can debate later when he's going to start, but we can't wait for him to start and develop. And that is based on what we've seen as well. I agree with you. He is exciting, and I look forward to seeing him develop. I still have players that I like at receiver, but I'm not seeing dominance. I'm not seeing excitement. Oh, we really need to get him the ball because he's going to be magic. There's some good options, but I'm open to see, okay, let's see how that develops. What I really hate is how bad our offensive line was last year. And if anything, it's almost looked worse in preseason. They didn't get talent, which we were all hoping for, and they didn't address it really in the draft or in free agency or trade, or however you want to acquire your roster. They haven't attacked that, and the offensive line looks bad. It just looks bad.
It's
whether that's
unfortunate
play,
because
blocking, false starts, penalties, it's at the moment it's bad. Now I'm hoping again that improves very quickly, and the O-line is looking good, so that when Drake May comes in, or even when Brissett's playing, they're not getting killed every week, and we're worried for their safety. At the moment, that's bad, and that's disappointing that we're in that position.
The problem is the Patriots had so much that was needed. And yeah, we can argue that they didn't address some things that they could have done. Granted, they could have thrown more money at one of the, the receivers, the Ridleys and stuff like that. Okay. But they had so much that they needed to address that you can only address so many things at once. You've only got so many hands, that kind of situation. And they did a really main one with Drake May. It's just unfortunate that they didn't. They really struggled when it came to everything else that was needed. But
which positions, looking quite broadly, which position groups would you say the Patriots are stronger at this year than last year?
Stronger than technically quarterback.
I'd agree.
If Drake May is,
I'd agree.
I mean, okay, you can say, by the end of the season he completely bombs out type thing, but
I'd even say the backups, Milton and Brissett.
Yeah, maybe.
Like. And I appreciate
maybe
Brissett will probably start against the Bengals, so I'm saying he's the backup, but I think we all want to see May as the number one with supporting cast behind him. I'd say all three of those are better than what the Patriots had last year.
Potentially the wide receiver room, if the two rookies turn out to be semi-superstars, if you like, because there's chances, because they weren't undrafted free agent situation. So possibly the wide receiver room, but that's more potential. Unfortunately, I haven't looked at the defense properly, to be honest with you.
I'd agree say that I would go on. You got another group. I was going to say that was it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if the defense is slightly weakened with the loss of Matthew Judon, but we don't know, because what the young guys that they brought in, we don't know yet. I'm optimistic that the defense can pull it back together, but obviously the loss of Barmore was a big deal.
Yeah, I fear that we haven't moved forward, and we saw a bad team last year, and I'm not sure we're going to be any better. Now, what I hope is that they are going to grow and learn together. There's some younger players. They're all going to improve together, so that in 2 years we can say, yeah, we had that. If you want to do this as a graph, we thought we're at a low point. I think there's lower to come, but I hope that's what makes the climb up even better.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's a bit of a dip, but I think it's a dip to create.
I hope so.
It's needed to go upwards, kind of thing. I think maybe. Can we try not to be too negative, please?
Well, like I said,
really...
the positive I tried to draw from the preseason games, all of them, was I think May looks good, looks promising. There's still elements to work on. He's not a final article yet, but he looks exciting. Whether part of that is because of the frailties around him. He looks good under pressure. He looks like if the pocket's collapsing, he can still make a throw. He can still move out of the throw. Move out of the pocket to make a throw, or attack the gap and use his legs. He doesn't look like a scared rabbit like we had last year, and so that's far more exciting to watch. That's positive. That's when the games I think is good. Other than that, I think a lot of it is more question marks, really.
One thing that I can say on a more positive / optimistic potential sort of situation is, whilst the O-line itself at the moment is looking bad, the pieces they're all kind of, we're talking late round and backup pieces, but they do have a new coach. And whilst that you could say, well, this arguably reflects badly on the coach, what I can say is hopefully what it means is he can turn it around, particularly if he is brought in a decent O-lineman of some caliber somewhere. Do you understand what I mean? At the moment it's looking bad, but he hasn't got, the best of ingredients, if you want to go back to that kind of analogy there. They've got a coach who is new, so hopefully he can work through a few of the gremlins and then build up, and then maybe we've got a solid O-line coach for the future, because he is supposed to be a really good O-line coach. If only we gave him a couple of really good O-line players, maybe we'd have a really, really good O-line. So maybe we will in the future when we give him something a little bit better to work with or something like that.
Possibly, and as you sort of reported on yesterday, should we say, the Browns have released one of their tackles from last year, so there's a chance that the Patriots could be sniffing around that to work with the same.
We need to let people know that when you say reported, I didn't report out there into the Twitterverse. I reported to him. I let him know. I let you know. I reported to Chudders.
You're a frontline reporter there, waiting outside Foxborough in the cold of last night, breaking the news to the world. I do feel like with all the cuts, with where the Patriots are in the pecking order for the waiver wire, you feel like they're going to need different bodies. The bodies they have in the room don't really look good enough for starting five, to be honest, particularly at centre, which you hope is going to be resolved by David Andrews. But
there's no backup.
There's no backup. Patriots just released what you thought might be. Well, not, I suppose. There's two. Maffey was released yesterday, who obviously was only signed last year, because he's been underperforming. Strange, I suppose, they haven't necessarily released him, but he's not playing this year, it's thought, or certainly he's gone straight to PUP, I think it is.
Yeah, first 4 games is the confirmed. Is Kendrick Bourne and Cole Strange are on PUP, and they will be out for the first 4 games.
It's there's just a lack of talent, and I think they have picked up some, for want of a better term, some nobodies, if you like. They picked up some bodies during the off season, but the bodies they have don't appear to be good enough. So I think I would be surprised if that offensive line room that we have as of this moment is still the same in 10 days' time.
Quick question, because there's also Calvin Anderson who's on injury list now. So I don't know who was released or if he was not released, but he's not playing for the year. because I meant to write it down, which O-lineman was the one that kept causing penalties in the Washington game? Can you remember? I meant to write it down.
Was it Wallace?
Aren't we such a great show?
Yeah, brilliant. You've thrown us under the bus there, Claire. This is a question you should have asked yesterday.
I meant
not during the show.
Very early this morning prior to the show, but I didn't end up having time. Yeah.
It's a big factor that needs to be addressed. Whether you're trying to,
it doesn't matter either way.
Provide pass protection or run blocking, it's not looked good enough.
Another point though, in the positive, because I'm really trying to throw some positives on that side at the moment. David Andrews was a rookie undrafted free agent in 2016. So he came into the league undrafted and he's awesome. So there's still a chance that some of these nobodies, as you say, could end up being awesome. But on that, let's move away from the O-line, because everybody's moaning about the O-line, because this is what everybody's moaning about, and we don't want to lose all of our show time, because we will be back, folks. Well, I'll take this quick opportunity to say, we started this as a post-game recap wrap show, and we went into the off-season and brought you just ridiculous content, quite frankly, of all sorts of arguments and such, in a good way.
Into our lives, yeah.
In a good way. But yes, we will be returning. The definite day is yet to be decided because of a certain individual's work schedule. But we will be back with our post-game recap wrap show as soon after the game as kind of is feasible, and obviously being in the UK with the time difference and that sort of thing. So it's just to let you know, folks, that if you have been waiting to know about that for the regular season, you can now rest easy that we will be bringing you that. So make sure you keep your eyes on patspropaganda.com for that, and obviously the YouTube channel. Sorry. So we can't moan about the O-line anymore, because we'll be here until we'll have missed the season by the time we finished complaining. So the releases. What was surprised? Were you as surprised as I was at the Kevin Harris release? Because I was rather shocked.
I was slightly surprised. That wasn't the one I was most surprised about. I was slightly surprised. I thought he'd done okay. Past couple of years with the Patriots and this off season, I thought he'd shown some versatility as the third running back. Obviously, they've gone with Hasty in that role. Here again, he's been okay. He's not. Neither of them have really, I guess, made it impossible for them to be dropped, to be cut.
I thought he was really decent, so I am surprised. I think I can guess your shock cut. Cornerback Sean Wade, isn't it?
It is, Sean Wade. Particularly when they retain Dial, who's looked bad, in all honesty. He's not looked good. That I fear with a lot of these cuts and retentions, there seem to be subconsciously statements that the new regime is ensuring or is trusting in its own ability to assess players more than the last head coach, let's put it that way. So when you look at, they cut Maffey, who was there from last year, they cut Ryland, they cut Zappi, they cut Bledsoe, they cut Wade, they cut Harris, all players who we can all understand why they've possibly been cut. They're not necessarily starting caliber players in the NFL, but they're also people that depending on your 53, if you were mocking that up, you may well have had them in there as options. They weren't complete write-offs. And so there seems to be, the last guy got it wrong, but, we think we got the right man in Dial. We think he's going to be, in the longer term, because you can't say at the moment, but you must think in the longer term, he's going to be a better solution than Wade, which I'm surprised about. But it gave me the feeling that this was a statement as much as anything.
I'm going to make you talk about kickers then, just because I know you love it.
Well, Joey Sly, I think he's done all right. I'm fine with him taking the job. Ryland missed some kicks last year that you'd expect your kicker to be making. I'm not attached to him in any way that we think we need to keep him for long-term development, I'm perfectly happy with going with Sly. Wilcox, I thought, had made some catches in pre-season. Thought he possibly had a chance to be the third tight end, but they've clearly moved away from him. Zappi, I think, is the right move. I think his career was always done with the Patriots. He could come back on the practice squad, but I don't really have much interest in his long-term future now, to be honest. Maffey's a bit of a surprise, but again, he's not played that well. Similar for Bledsoe. Wade is the biggest surprise. I thought he should be in there ahead of Dar, to be honest, because you could bring Dar back on the practice squad. Like you say, he was a 7th round pick. He was almost 6th round pick, maybe. I can't remember now. One of the two. Anyway, late round pick. He's not shone in pre-season. I can't believe there's anyone that's waiting for him to hit the waiver wire so they can snap him up to their 53. So that just seems a strange one. I could understand why you might want to keep him, develop him, but it didn't have to be in the 53 for me. Harris, like you say, surprised about that one. The other was Giles Harris as well, because he played a few games. The Patriots had a bit of input. Again, not great. I can see why it's happened, but just someone who has contributed to the Patriots who's now gone.
I think
anyone else that's surprised for you?
I was kind of surprised with Ryland, not because I thought that he was like sort of any good over Sly, more just he was a sort of 4th round draft pick sort of thing. It was kind of like, it seems like a bit of a waste, but he hasn't had the consistency, and I like the keeping of Joey's, like, because he's got more of a, how do I put this without you making fun of me, a footballer's body than Ryland has, so he'd be better at blocking and stuff like that. So
you know what, I'm not going to make fun of you, because now you can debate how much you personally want to buy into this, but I've seen with the new kickoff rules, there is the feeling that there may be more of a requirement than previous for kickers to be able to tackle.
There's my point. See, that's why it was important to maintain
it. To be honest, accuracy and consistency is far higher on the list of what I look for in my kicker. But, each to their own. Hey?
Why look at boring things like accuracy and consistency? Yeah, when you can have a big beefy dude, really.
Exactly.
Obviously, I jest.
Are you happy with the tight end room, Claire? 3 tight ends on the roster. Are you disappointed there's not a 4th?
Always, but realistically, no. They've stacked that. I knew they were going to do that with regards to. I say I knew. I didn't. It's quite excessive, but the wide receiver room was already so excessive that there was no way that they were going to replace it with 4 tight ends and stuff like that. I wish they had, because I'm worried about Hunter Henry. However, it's the likes of, as much as he tried to block and stuff like that, Mitchell Wilcox isn't exactly a replacement for Hunter Henry sort of thing. I realised currently that I'm still not over the fact that they didn't draft one. Not obviously last draft, the previous draft, when the tight end the tight ends was so stacked in the 2023 draft. I've realised I still haven't got over that. I may need some tight end grief cancelling or something, because when I watch the likes of Sam Laporta play, oh my gosh. I was watching something. The receivers, the Netflix, sorry, I mean to point, the Netflix receivers docu, whatever you want to call it, receiver. They did the quarterback one, they did a receiver one. And obviously they were following Almon St. Brown from the Lions. So you get to see plenty of Laporta. And every time I see it, it's like, the sort of the football lust for it. Oh my goodness me. It's like, such great tight-endage. It's just not fair that they went. And there's the likes of the Cowboys taking Ferguson and stuff. I'll be here all day again. But it's opened old wounds. I've realised that I'm not over it. But bringing it back to the Patriots, apologies, folks. I'm going to seek help offline. I'm concerned with the Henry injury, because he is our top tight end and he is needed. They do utilise the tight ends really well, and the way that AVP likes to play. So it's concerning that they don't have stacked depth. But then again, this is the whole team at the moment, isn't it? We can't. So yeah.
So
now I'm depressed.
So what I'll ask, we don't. My assumption is you don't have expectations the Patriots going to win the first game against the Bengals. What I will ask is
I'm delusional. They are going to win.
What would you like to see out of the game? What would irrespective of the result? I mean, we'd all love to see the Patriots win. What do you want to see from the game? What development? What are you hoping will be the outcome, the positives you'll be able to take away from the game?
I'll enjoy
realistically the game as well. not that they have got the new Tom Brady and Gronk and oh wow, but realistically, what are we hoping to see?
Yeah, decent O-line, not all the penalties. A severe reduction in penalties on offense would be a nice start if they play like an actual football team. So yeah, the decent O-line. I love to watch the tight ends play regardless. So if there's proper utilization of the tight ends, I'm going to enjoy that, whether they win or lose. So if you've got plenty of Hooper, Henry and Bell and that kind of thing, I'm just going to enjoy, sit back and be an audience for that more than anything, knowing that this isn't going to be a season for waiting for the wins kind of thing, get to the playoffs sort of thing. So just them bringing it together and showing that they're on the upward rather than still on the downward, if you like. So yeah, be great if they win. I reckon that we're going to have a crazy win for the first game, but then a few losses.
I agree. They need to tidy up the game. And it comes down, it's discipline, it's fundamentals, it's what the previous coach always used to hark on about. You've got to do the basic, simple things first. No penalties, no misalignments. Do your job.
Yeah.
Can they start by not losing the game themselves, making other teams beat them? And then it's, can you develop on that? Can you get a solid enough O-line? I'm not even saying good or great. Like, can you just get a front five that you're happy
that works
with? Yeah, and that, okay, we're going to develop this now. Are we going to see something in Polk and Baker that we think, okay, we've got a receiver room we can build around here? Maybe add one more piece next year. But are we happy we've got some good pieces in that room already? Hopefully Stevenson can continue his aggressive ground play, and hopefully Gibson can come in and complement that.
Yeah.
I think we're all expecting, and I'm assuming you're the same, we're expecting Brissett to start to play.
Yeah.
Would you, if you were choosing, would you have May start or would you have Brissett start?
I think, as much as I agree with a lot of what he said about May starting, how, you're never going to get a perfect O-line for him to be behind and things like that. And all of that, I agree. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last show. My feeling is he needs to start soon because I want him to have the experience, the NFL experience. I don't know if I want him in for the first few games. I just want the O-line to have a chance to at least be able to play. That's all. My standpoint is feeling like give them a few games to make sure they know what they're doing. That's all. And then put him in. Now, that could be pointless because by week 7, they might not know what they're doing. By week 18, 17, they might not know what they're doing, that kind of thing. So that's fair, and that's a fair point. I agree with everything that everybody's saying about it. My personal, if I'm sitting here and I'm dictating and saying what's going on, I'm not having him in just for the first few games. That's just my reservations of everything and how concerned I am from the whole, the Mac situation, the Mac experience and stuff. So for me personally, if I could tick the boxes and make the choices, it's just a few weeks. Just give me a few weeks with Brissett and the O-line to try maybe a little bit, and then give the team to May and get him to do his thing. I think that's where I stand right now. I reserve the right to change my mind.
No doubt you do. So one fear that I have, I understand if the plan all along was for Brissett to start, draft a new QB, let him develop, and then bring him in, about the longer term development, not short term wins or whatever. I understand if that was the plan. You'd like to think there's some flexibility in that. Where I fear is the situation is that back in free agency, Gerard Mayo spoke to Brissett, said, look, this is our plan, and this is what I'm going to do. I want you to come in here. I want you to develop a quarterback. I want you to teach him how to become an NFL quarterback. I'm going to pay you this, but don't worry, you're going to start. I want you to start. I promise you're going to start. Because essentially, as much as Brissett will enjoy his paycheck, Brissett still wants to do something in the NFL and not just hold a clipboard. He must have ambitions that he can play in this league still. And so one of the reasons you can get him in the door and persuade him to come in and do that is to say, look, I'm going to give you game time. You're not just coming in to 100% purely be a number two or to be the sort of Brian Hoyer experienced man in the room. I want you to play. As the off-season has played out and Brissett hasn't looked that good, it's not just about May. It's Brissett hasn't come in and shown, you can see who's clearly an NFL veteran. He has to start as part of the development. He hasn't looked that great. May's come in. May still has things to be working on, tweaking, improving, but May is the more, as you said, the more exciting player. My fear is Mayo is now in a position where, hang on, I made promises to Brissett that he's going to start. I have to honour those promises because Mayo is obviously in the infancy of his NFL coaching career, and he doesn't want to be seen as someone who's going to go back on his word. You can see it with the contracts they've tried to hand out, retaining talent. He's trying to create the ethos of, no, we'll reward you, we'll do all this. I'm a good guy. I'm more of a player's guy. I was in that locker room. I'm, as a player, I'm more of a player's guy than the last coach. More friendly, arm around the shoulder. Like, it's a slightly different attitude to the way things are, and he doesn't want to be seen to be going back on his word. I think you can see it in a lot of his press conference answers. He's tried to be more honest, but he's also tried to be more positive, I would say more on the player's side than cold and blocking everything out. And so my fear is he's painted himself into this position. He doesn't want to change it now for almost his own ego or his own morals, I guess, rather than what's necessarily best for the team. Because you can see how if you're a defensive player and you're looking at this, if you're thinking, hang on, our best chance to win is with Drake May. How are you telling me to go out and give my all when the other side of the ball probably isn't?
Yeah.
And it's hard then to motivate those players and say, no, come on, we need you to go out there balling, even though we know we're playing offense with one hand tied behind our back.
Yeah.
So that's a slight
or
fit.
two.
And also to echo, the reason saying that is there's the thought, the speculation that that's what Bill did with Cam Newton when he came in. Promised him, no, you're going to play the whole season, because at that point, Cam Newton's career was on the downward spiral, but he still had ambitions he could play in the league. And so Bill said, no, don't worry, you are going to start, you're going to play the season. So when things continued to go downhill and they looked non-competitive, and there were calls for Stidham to come in, and they never did, and it happened every week, and he never did, and the thought was, okay, well, he's honouring his promise because he wants to keep his word, he wants to keep his integrity. And my fear is, before we've even started this season, we're in the same position again with the next coach. Maybe you're wrong. I understand the benefits to May not starting. I understand the development, the wanting to see where you are at so you can establish a baseline before you bring May in, so you can understand, is he lowering or raising that, but I understand those arguments. My fear is there's an element of that that's also crept in already.
Great. Now we ended on a negative. We're now wrapping up and ending on a what we were afraid of. But the one positive is we have a whole season. Yes.
Yeah.
The one
We need
positive
to
is
make
we
some
have a whole
sandwich
season
bets as well, Claire, at some point. Let's start with. So we won over under 3.5 games. Wins.
Over.
Under.
Okay. Well, there's the first one, folks.
There's the first one. There we go. The first sandwich Claire owes me.
Yeah. I still owe you 3 from last season. This is going to be expensive. This is going to be expensive. Anyway, on that note, folks, that is it for episode 33 of Pat's Procrastination. We have finished the pre-season. We will be coming at you post-season. So the post-game recap wrap show needs something way more catchy. We'll be back following the Bengals game, folks. Check out all the socials, as they say, for when the time will be. But it'll be there on the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe. So that is it for Chudders and myself for the preseason. So tune in next time, folks. And as always, go Pats.
LFG.